What's up guys, Tamarakshan here. This is the Samsung Galaxy C Flip and this is the first foldable phone I am reviewing. Now, a foldable phone is not something that's mainstream, but I feel it will be popular in the coming years. And yet this one, which is Samsung's second foldable phone, which has a flip phone theme, is not a perfect one, but yet it's so satisfying to use. Firstly, this phone when in the closed form is a reminder to the old flip phones, and in that form, this is a compact structure which is easily pocketable. Now, as you might know from the title of the video, it's been almost 5 months since the C Flip was launched, and in this video, what I would like to focus on is how well the phone has aged, and also to answer the main question of whether you should buy the C Flip right now. And yet to an extent, this is a well-built phone. In the closed form, the small display present on the outside of the phone is protected well, but here, this display based on functionality is actually disappointing. Well, the reason for that is because, as you can see, it's too small with very limited capabilities, and here what I mainly use it for is to quickly check the time. Well, you can see the notification icons, but if you want to know more about the notification, you have to depend on the main display. The small AMOLED display is a good one in terms of readability, but based on functionality, it's of little use. Now, as you can see, the back portion is glass, and even though it's slippery and also a fingerprint magnet, it has held up fine. The main camera is in the front portion when the phone is in the closed form, and the camera lens is also holding fine, and actually that's expected because these dual cameras doesn't come in contact with table surfaces. And here the only port available is also working great, and it's USB-C, but this phone doesn't have a headphone jack, so if you're into that, well then this might seem to be a disappointment. But for me, that's actually not the main disappointing thing, but instead it's these buttons. The power button works fine and it has the fingerprint scanner in it, which is pretty fast and accurate, but the volume button is kind of broken. Now, I have never dropped this phone, but during this course of time, it has lost its tactile nature, and here, even though it works, the feedback is not at all satisfying, and to be frank, I was not expecting such a thing, especially from a phone which cost approximately 1,09,000 Indian rupees. Well, this pricing is all because of the tech that's used here, and in that, the foldable thing is so complex because of two main stuff. One is the hinge, which holds the two halves of the phone together, and the second is the display that has to fold and unfold. And from these two, one has stayed pretty much good, and the other in terms of aging is not that good. And the other thing that has stayed positive is the hinge. Now, this hinge is not something we are all used to with the old flip phones, but instead it's more of like a laptop hinge. It has stiffness and it locks in different positions, and therefore it's not gonna act like a stylish flip phone from the old times, but still I like it because it feels like it's gonna last really well. And considering the fact that this hinge has been working for 5 months and it still works fine, it's a proof to back that statement. Now, Samsung claims there are brushes in the hinge area inside to stop dust and stuff like that from damaging the display, and yet this T-shaped plastic piece on both sides is also to act like an obstacle for those particles. Till now, I don't hear any creaks or has faced any other issues, and that's why I rate this hinge as a positive thing, and I believe in Samsung's claims. But another claim Samsung makes is that this is a foldable glass, and it is true, but this display doesn't have any trademark of a glass display. Firstly, when you swipe through, it feels like a plastic screen guard which is soft, and the reason for that is that Samsung did also mention they had used a plastic protector on top of the glass to give more structural stability, and because of that, I don't have that confidence I get when I use a touchscreen with a proper glass. Whenever I use the C Flip's display, it feels like something I should be very careful with. And I've been very careful with this phone, but still there are many tiny scratches throughout the display, which is not a big problem, but there are actually some fingernail marks, which is very concerning. I'm pretty sure this hasn't happened from dust or other particles, but it has come from the regular touches. And since it's only been 5 months, this is a bit concerning, and I feel over time this might become a much more bigger problem. And also, have you noticed this crease? Well, that's the next thing that's always a reminder to me that there is still a lot to go with this technology. We'll get used to it, but still we'll feel it with every scroll. While consuming media, it's visible under a certain angle, but we can ignore it because the quality of this display is actually pretty good. This is a 6.7-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display. It has more than enough pixels per inch, and there is also support for HDR10+, and yet this display based on quality is up to the standards. It's sharp and the colors are vibrant, and also the viewing angles are to an extent not bad, and also the display does get bright enough for proper outdoor use. But again here, there isn't any extraordinary stuff happening with the display quality. I mean, the refresh rate is the normal 60Hz, and also if you compare this display with the S20 series, well then for sure the one in the S20 series is much better. And by the way, as a part of production, there is this plastic bezel thing going all around this display, which is actually not an issue for me. And I feel most of us will get used to it. And also, as you can see on the bottom corners, there is this rubber protection to keep the display safe when it's closed. Well, talking about closed, this phone doesn't close perfectly with no gap in between, but instead there is a small gap which might seem to be an issue, but till now there hasn't been a big concern from this gap. I never had faced a situation where particles were stuck in between. Now, since this is a Samsung phone, one main core factor to check in the long-term use side is how well the processor aged, and here the Snapdragon 855 Plus chipset, even though not the newest, is still performing good. There is 8 GB RAM and 256 GB storage, which is not expandable, but 256 is more than enough, and overall the user experience from the processor side has been holding well. All games work without any lag or issues, and also the usual task does work great. And in case if you're wondering about the software version, well, it's Android 10 and Samsung is actually providing regular updates. So performance side is covered well, but that's not the case with how the camera is holding up. You get dual camera in the rear and both are 12 megapixel cameras, in which one is wide angle and the other is ultra wide, and here the max video resolution supported is 4K at 60 FPS. And about the pictures captured, it's again good but still not the best. This camera is staying below the S20 series as well as the iPhone 11 series in terms of overall ranking, and that makes it look inferior mainly considering the price tag. And the same thing is applicable with the front camera too. Selfies are good, but again it has the old Samsung camera issues like over smoothing, which I'm not a fan of. And also if you want, you can use the main camera to take selfies with the help of the front display, but it's hilariously bad. And about the 3300 mAh battery used here, which by the way is two batteries placed on either side of the phone, well, it does easily last a day for average users. But for heavy usage, it's not like that. The screen on time I usually get is approximately 4 hours, which is not the best. And here one thing to specifically point out is the weight balance, because there is components on both sides and actually it's done pretty well. The bottom portion feels very slightly heavy, which provides the overall balance while holding the phone in the natural position. And actually in such a state, it's surely not a one-handed phone because of the taller aspect ratio. Now about charging, the phone does support wireless charging as well as fast charging, but here one thing to specify is that the phone does get more than moderately warm while charging as well as while doing intense tasks. And here there is no form of water resistance, and for the number of SIMs, it's two, in which one is nano SIM and the other is eSIM. And about the speakers, it's a dual speaker setup which gets really loud and is pretty clear. And also about the earpiece, it's a good one for calls, and because of this taller form factor, this phone works great for calls. And if in case you have a doubt whether there is 5G support available, well, the Flip C doesn't support 5G, but there is NFC and the Bluetooth version is 5. Well, after checking all this, one thing that is clear is that there isn't any extraordinary things happening here other than the fact that this is a foldable device. That's a great breakthrough innovation, but what's accompanying it is a lot of restrictions. You need to put extra care while using this device, and also the core phone things that the C Flip offers is same as what we get from a regular phone. And hence for this price tag, I'll surely not recommend anyone to buy the C Flip because this is still a first gen product. It's an impressive device to use, but manufacturers need to refine stuff, and that's when foldables will become a mainstream thing. And that future might be happening soon because the C Flip is a right start. That's all for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, please do hit the like button, and also please don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one. Till then, bye.